you mentioned how myself and Karen had recently been asking for help and assistance. And I've seen it show up a little bit, since I'm here to officially ask for a little bit more.
Here's the thing we would say with asking for help, and this is very true, in terms of it being an infinitely abundant universe. There is no shortage. So when you ask, there's no such thing as asking for too much help, right? You can ask for help for tiny things and large things. You can ask for help all day long. It is Source's pleasure to assist you in any way that it can, and it does so in many different ways. It does so through these beings that you interact with. It does so by working through the actual physical other humans that you interact with. When you ask for help, Source provides help, right? So what we would wish for you to know, but also everyone listening, it's like, don't be shy in terms of asking for things, in terms of asking for help, in terms of asking for abundance, in terms of asking for opportunity. There's no shortage. There's no lack. If there's a perception of shortage or lack, that again is your conditioning. It's the human who is timid because it has been somehow had an experience in the past where he or she asked for something, and then perhaps they were shamed for asking for something or shamed for needing something. But in terms of your relationship with Source energy, there is no lack. So ask away. Ask for as much as you can. Don't just keep in your mind, and mostly keep in your heart, that you dwell in an infinitely abundant universe. And so if you think of going to the ocean and you're wanting to take home some water from that ocean, it's up to you what size of cup you want to bring. The ocean doesn't care if you bring a thimble or a bucket or a tank. It doesn't, like a tank on a truck. It's its pleasure to give you whatever it is you need. So keep that in mind when you are asking for help or asking for other things in your reality.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling, as you're sharing, it was like, I can only speak for myself. It was definitely programming or conditioning that there should be a struggle. And I would say, like, as you mentioned, we're moving into the new earth energy, that's releasing, right? That programming is where we're headed, is to release that it needs to be a struggle or we have to work so hard, when it should all just flow, and Spirit's here to support us.
There is no need for struggle. Now, people get that confused because they mistake effort or struggle with action. So they think, oh, okay, if I'm not struggling, there's all sorts of limiting beliefs wrapped up in this one. So if they think that they're struggling or efforting, on some level, there is a very, very strong collective false belief that struggle is what makes you worthy. So examine for yourself, for those listening, if that is active within your energy field, that I need to struggle in order to be worthy. That is very, very, very common. And then play around with it. What if that is not true? What if I don't need, what if I'm worthy, whether I struggle or not? Then would I still continue to choose to struggle? Or would I choose to align with the flow, the harmony that is the universe? Right? That is what we mean by the inner work that you are all being called to do. The inner work you're being called to do is this examination of the contents of your consciousness and asking if these programs that you've been running on for so long are actually accurate. But one more thing we want to add in terms of struggle, effort, and then the other element to that is action. Now, when you are in the flow and connected to Source, and feeling that aliveness within you, it is true that you take lots of action, right? But the action comes from an inspired place. You wake up in the morning and there's an excitement because you just know what it is that you need to do that day. You know who it is that you want to contact. You know your divine assignment for the day. There's lots of action in living that kind of life. But the struggle in that most people retain in their lives in order to prove their worthiness. Now that is something different altogether, and that is something can be eliminated. We've often said through Karen that one of the most beneficial things you can do in terms of your inner work is to examine your beliefs in relation to your identity, in terms of who do I think I need to be, or who have I been, who do I need to be in order to be loved and accepted in this reality? What is the conditioning? What is the programming around that? If you start to examine that in relation to your identity, you will uncover many of the false beliefs that are keeping you in a stuck and stagnant place. Because the reason that you hang on to those beliefs so tightly is for fear of, if I let go of that person that identity who needs to struggle, or if I let go of this element of who I think I am, then I'm going to be abandoned, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. All of that is just, they're like giant knots in your energy field. None of it is accurate. None of it is true. What's true is that you are a divine being, a beautiful creation of source energy and source intelligence, and there is nothing that you need to be or do in order to be worthy of love or abundance or acceptance. You are just worthy because you exist. That's what's true. So all of these constructs that are layered on top of that in terms of who and what a being needs to be in order to receive acceptance, those are just programmed ideas, and they are false programmed ideas that at this particular point in time are needing to be let go of in order for you to raise your energy and move to the next level, energetically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bringing through when you were mentioning how, I'm using the word in transition, but how there was that little bit of wobble from one frequency to the next. And that's what's like the wave in it. Or like I'm seeing when you throw a pebble in still water, that conditioning is what's creating that wobble for me. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing that and I'm working through it, and the inner work is within. And then when you mentioned that we stabilize one another through resonance, I feel like that is so true. And I'm just sharing from my perspective as the human here experiencing it, that if I have a program, a condition, or a limited belief around anything that I'm working through, it very much helps me just to be in the presence of somebody who doesn't have that same issue, we'll say, who's mastered it or is so effortless, because then I can feel what that feels like, and it's training wheels to remind me that I can be there.
Definitely. And then it also, it helps you feel the energy of that. But then also for your human construct, it also is almost like permission for you to be different and still be, do you know what I'm saying? So you're still here, you're still a worthy being, you're still lovable, you're still loved. It's like permission to be different. Permission that if I change, everything is still going to be okay, because that's the fear in the human construct. But that resonance that you speak of, we would say, is the more important part. It's just feeling into, oh, this person does not have, let's just use in terms of a common one would be beliefs in lack versus beliefs in abundance. So feel into someone who doesn't have a belief in lack. What does that feel like in your energy field? And it is very much like training wheels, because it feels like a completely different frequency. So then you get to practice that and feel what it would be like to have that in your energy field, and then also have that reflected in your reality. What is that like? And so with Karen, we've used the term shape-shifting in terms of if there's a quality that she wishes to embody, to think of someone who already embodies that quality, whether she knows the person or not. It could definitely be just someone in the media that she knows of, that she feels is the embodiment of that quality. Start bringing them to mind, start focusing on their energy. And then what happens, because, of course, you are energetically sensitive beings, you start to vibrate in harmony with that being and get a sense of what that feels like. What does success feel like in my energy body? What does abundance feel like? What does love feel like? Whatever it is, there are many, you all have different desires. There is not one right or wrong, but what does that feel like in my energy body? And then it's up to you to begin to practice that and to notice when you revert back into the old frequency. And then when you do notice that you've done that, you're not allowed to shame yourself for falling back. In fact, we suggested in the last interaction that you use soft words like, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute that I fell back into that old frequency? There's my human construct doing that again. It's not a big deal. I know I'm good at this. I'm good at feeling frequency. I can realign myself, and you just softly, that's the work. Because another thing that blocks people is when they revert back, well, then they start another old construct of shaming themselves for not doing better.
Yes.
So you can see how these false beliefs and these patterns and these limiting narratives are all piled one on top of the other. And so it's like untangling a big ball of yarn that's been knotted. And so you untangle one knot and there's another one waiting for you. It's okay. So you just gently untangle it. It's not a big deal. What's exciting is the energetic alignment that occurs after you've got that knot untangled. That's the reward, if you will. And so the reward of feeling that realignment is so enjoyable to you that you will gladly continue the process of undoing those knots.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for, again, as we're going to just share the energy. I mean, the words, it's clicking, it makes sense. I'm understanding, but the energy today is just so beautiful. And of course it does feel like a calling, like back home. Feels very familiar, but in such a soothing and full way for myself. So I know that there will be others listening, and if they can feel the energy, I'm so grateful as well. But I know for myself, it feels very tailored, like just so much like I felt this before. And it's given me a lot, and I feel very whole. I'll say, like, maybe there were some areas that I was a little fatigued in, and now I feel charged up and inspired by your words. So thank you so much.
We are so grateful for you and for your interaction, not only here today, but also the work that you are doing and continuing to do, and being committed to your own unfoldment at the same time. We see and sense all of that, not effort, but that action that is unfolding, and your, most of all, the devotion within your heart to that higher cause. And so this is not the last, this is what we will leave you with. This is not the last interaction between you and us in this way. We will plan other interactions because in a sense you are an ambassador for both worlds, so to speak. You are an ambassador for the spirit realm. You already know that in the multidimensional realm, but you are also an ambassador for the humans out there that are of a more sensitive nature. So you understand how you are a dual ambassador, if you will. And so there is a great need out there for interaction on both those levels, for the sensitives who are now beginning to awaken to start to understand their sensitivity. And then of course there's a great need for the energy and information that comes through in the sense of of being channeled. So this is not the last interaction. However, for today, we think that has been sufficient.
Thank you so much. It really is just like a huge honor to hear these messages come through. And I'm at a loss for words, so thank you.
So we send our gratitude to you, and there is a greeting that Karen often, that we speak through Karen, that we taught her actually, in terms of in the yoga community, there is a greeting or a Sanskrit word called Sat Nam, which means true identity. So we'll leave you with that greeting, meaning we see and sense your true identity. We hold the frequency of that highest, truest identity. We are bringing that through to you and for you at all points in time, and you are becoming a master at aligning and integrating it, not only for yourself, but for the others that you work with. So we will leave it at that for today.
Thank you.